Hey everyone, Melanie Muenchinger here, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I have a new project for you with my newest set from Gina K Designs, Puppies Galore, and I'm going to be showing you how easy it is to create a really cute little dog house and background that is just going to make a perfect scene for the dogs in this set. Today I'm going to be using the Puppies Galore set, and I'm also going to be showing the Lifechanging Blending Brushes from Picket Fence Studios. We also carry these in the Gina K store. So I'm just going to be using 3 different sizes today. Some of the medium size brushes for doing the sky and the ground. And then one of these little skinny brushes. This is great for really accenting the different planks on that doghouse. The cardstock that I'm using today, I've got the Gina K Pure Luxury Base Weight, Heavy Base Weight White. This is an A2 size card, 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. Then I've got some of her red velvet cardstock for making that little doghouse. So this piece is 3 inches squared, and this piece was 2 1/2 inches squared and then cut on the diagonal. You can also use, if you don't want to just cut out your squares, it's really easy to use a square die, and I actually have this fun little stitch border around the edge if you've got Gina's stitch square or another square die. And then I've got just a scrap of black for doing the inside there. To also create the doghouse, I've got a circle punch. This is a 1 3/8 punch that I have, but you could use a circle die or trace something that's round. Then I've just got a little pair of scissors, and we're going to be using a scoring board. This is a small Scor-Buddy that Gina carries. Then the ink pads that I'm using today, I've got some of the Gina K Sea Glass for the sky, Lucky Clover for the ground, and then some of the faded brick. I wanted something that was a little bit darker than that red velvet cardstock so that it would show up. That's for shading the doghouse. All right, so let's begin, and then you'll just need some acrylic blocks for the Misty. So let's begin by creating this little doghouse here. So I've got my scraps of red. And so you want to just pick something that is going to be a good size for an A2 size base and to match the scale of the dog. So here's the little one that's laying down, and then here's one that I created with the individual face and the dog sitting up and some of the ears. So either one of those can go on that house. And then for the roof, you just want something that is slightly smaller than that 3 inch. So I picked 2 1/2. And on the diagonal, it will be bigger than 2 1/2 and just hang over the edges there. So what we want to do with our scoring board is we're just going to score this about every 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to put that in. So that means you're doing it at 2, at the 3 mark, the 1 1/2, at the 1, and then at the 1/2. And you can go over those again and get it really nice and deep. So the deeper you go, the better it's going to fit into those. And then just put this on the edge here and score that every 1/2 inch. Whoops. And I want to add my greeting onto the doghouse, and you can make it look like the dog's name on there, or you could even write the recipient's name or their pet. That would be kind of fun. I'm going to use the Amalgam ink. This is the jet black. And so I think I'm going to I'll just do a little happy birthday greeting, because you can never have enough. I'll do you make me happy. You make me yappy. Okay. So I like to a lot of times put my greeting down and then press my block onto them to make sure that it's straight. And then we'll do happy. And you might want to add your greeting before you do your scoring, just to make sure that you don't get it on that line. And I'm going to put in that little so happy. Okay, just like that. You make me so happy. And then what I want to do is I want to use one of these brushes And I'm just going to add some of this faded brick. Just swirl this around and then just go over these lines. And so that's just going to put it on either side, and you're just going to see it's just going to create a little bit more texture. Now you can create your own wood grain if you want by doing a direct to paper technique. But I wanted this to be just a little more graphic looking, to have the red of the house really solid, and then just add in the boards. Got something coming up next month that you're going to really enjoy. Don't want to say too much, but I am giving you a little bit of a hint there. So I'm just swirling this around. I'm just laying it right on over the boards. And the closer that you hold it to the brush head, the darker it's going to be. When you back off of it, it's going to go lighter, and I'll show you that when I'm doing the sky. And these can clean off on a piece of scratch paper or on your little tidy towel or rag, or just wash them off when you're done with the stamping session. Okay, so here's this little house. Now what I want to do here to create the door is I'm going to go up with my punch facing up and just get it centered there and punch. And it's much easier to do all of your scoring and blending before you cut the door. Otherwise, it's hard to stay in the track. Then you're just going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut straight up. A little bit more in. Okay, so there's your doorway. And then you want just enough of the black behind it to fill in that door, so it looks like there's some depth there. And again, this is more whimsical. If you want to shade it inside, you can. And I'm going to end up mounting this behind it a little bit up so that it looks like it's resting on the ground, not down to the bottom of that house. And that's going to give it a little bit more of a 3D look as well. Then you can just mount this with some foam squares. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to show you how we're going to do this card base. So on this one, I mounted my 4 by 5 1/4 inch mat that I had sponged onto the sea glass cardstock, but I just wanted to make this one single layer for then popping up my dog and my house. So I'm going to take one of these brushes, and actually let me do the grass first. So I'm going to cover this up actually to create a straight edge for the grass along the bottom, and you choose how high up you want it to be, just enough to show behind your dog. Oh, wait, that's the blue, so I'm going to do the Lucky Clover first. All right, so I'm just going to swirl this around on the pad. I'm going to make sure it's straight, and if you want, you can do a rounded edge so that it looks like a little hill. And I forgot to grab my purple tape before I started, but it's nice to have that so that I like to hold my pad still while I'm swirling that ink on there, and then that's going to keep this lined up. But I'm just going back and forth. So when I back off of it, it's going to go much lighter, but then when I put a finger down or hold it closer to the top, it's going to get darker. And it just feels so good on these bristles. I'm just starting to use these, but you have a lot of control with your ink. Blends really nicely, it cleans up really easily, and over time the sponge daubers, I have had to replace them because it will start to pop out just little bits of the foam, and then you get the texture on there. And so this is just going to stay a nice consistent texture for your blending. Okay, so there's our Lucky Clover. I love this new beautiful shade of green if you don't have this one yet. And then I'm going to take another brush and I'm going to use the sea glass, and if you want, Gina does have a little cloud stencil, a nature stencil, But for this, I'm just going to keep it really loose and open and just have some white areas for those clouds. So just have it kind of play up and down. And you don't need to cover very much of it. You just want there to be enough around that house. So let me lay this down and we'll check it. And I need to also, let me grab my adhesive so the house doesn't keep coming apart. I forgot to mention that, but I have it in the supply list below. So you can have the house centered or off to the side. I think that's enough right there. So I'm going to stop. So let me grab my foam squares. So I like the dispenser in this, so it just pops right out. So I want this to have dimension. So I'm just going to put these right on the back. And I'm going to cover up the bottom of that and hold that in place for the foam square. Just like that. And then you can see how to color these dogs and stamp them in one of my other Puppies Galore videos. So please be sure to check out my playlist. So I'm going to put that. Make sure there's room for the roof. Put that right about there. And then do some foam squares on the back of the roof. And then the last thing that we'll do, we need to put some foam squares on one of the dogs. So either one. So I'll put one on that first card that I showed you. And then one on this one. So we'll just add just a couple foam squares to each. Actually, just do. Okay, so I'm going to put one right about there. Actually, because this one says happy, I'm going to put this dog with this one, since he's got his little tongue hanging out. And the love has 4 paws on the meeker looking dog. Just put him right about there. And that's it. Very easy to do. So I hope you enjoyed this idea for how to create that little dog house. You don't need any fancy stencils or anything, but it really just gives it a really cute look for all the dogs that you can customize in this set. Thanks for watching today. Please visit us at Gina K Designs and my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart. Thank you for watching. God bless.